With the $52 of diarrhea Charles is about to have, he could pop me a ice cube. All right.
I didn't even eat that much.
Did anyone else like it?
Yeah.
Is this your first time ever eating Taco Bell?
No, the last time we went, she reminded me we were at Chuck E. Cheese like 7 years ago or 6 years ago. It was like a really long time ago.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of 5 Idiots Talking Toys. It is our collector's podcast. You can find every Sunday night on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. You can go to 5idiotstalkingtoys.com to find all of our links, our socials, our merch shop, and it'll also lead you to rogue5toys.com. That is our sales page you'll find on Facebook. Thanks very much for being here. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment. We want to get your feedback. We love interacting with all the viewers. And we have a very special episode tonight. We have a guest. So thanks very much for joining us. Let's bring the boys in right now. We've got John, Brandon, Charles, and Christopher are here. What's up, guys?
Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi, Charles.
Charles hates saying hello.
Yeah.
He's so busy, he can't even say hello.
He wants to just jump right into the episode, not say hello, not do anything.
No banter. He hates banter.
Yeah.
No, I love banter. I hate saying hi to Shane. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay. He loves See, we have to get all these rules straight. Chris, can you write that down, please?
All right, then. I got
There's just one rule. No saying hi to Shane.
We just have to stare at each other like a bunch of goons and then just start talking about toys.
Thanks for having us, Shane.
Oh, you're welcome, John. Johnny boy. Lord Walden. Yes. All right, guys. So we have a guest tonight. What are you saying about the Falcons? What are they?
I was just going to say that the Dirty Birds won their last game.
John, give it up. The Falcons
are
horrible.
No one cares. No,
they beat the Bucks.
Yeah,
but the Bradyless Bucks.
Yeah, but Brady was sitting out half the game, so it doesn't matter.
Bradyless Bucks.
Giant waste of energy and time.
God.
It's like the same. You and I are in the same bucket, though, John. The Saints, are just disappointing all year too. The two rivals that we are. Yeah. All right, guys. So let's jump in and get serious here. We have a guest to join us tonight. We're very excited about this. There's a little bit of a throwback in one of our previous episodes where an action figure made it on the screen, and then one of our viewers got the action figure. So we have the designer, the brains behind Healeymade joining us tonight. Dave Healey is here. Let's welcome him in. Dave, hello. Thanks very much for joining us. Welcome.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
How are you?
Hey, Dave.
How's it going? Hello.
Hey, what's going on, Dave? I can say hi to Dave because it's not Shane.
Oh, God.
There we go. Nice. Thank you.
Let's see. Can we get him in the center? Let's get Charles to the side. Let's get Dave in the middle here.
You should just put Charles. Just put Charles on the outside. It's fine.
Yeah, So we chatted for a moment or two, getting you ready for the show, bringing you in. We are a toy collector podcast. We love to talk about pop culture and movies and the new series that are out as well. But we're all pretty heavy vintage Star Wars toy collectors. Some modern stuff as well. Some other lines. In addition, Charles is into the Turtles, and Brandon's into the Super 7 stuff, and he's got some horror stuff. And John's just opened up a toy store, a vintage and variety shop over this past 6 months. So we're all involved in different ways, but we're super happy to have you here. Let's just start off with your background as a collector. Let's start there. Where were you at? What did you like when you were a kid, and where did you turn into the collecting hobby as an older person, an adult?
I'm born in 77, so I'm like prime for Star Wars. I mean, not I had Star Wars like episode 4 stuff. I think it was more of a hand-me-down from a neighbor, but lots of Star Wars. I remember Empire, Jedi, especially like collecting those, but mostly I think like G.I. Joe was like the big one. He-Man, pretty standard stuff. And I was heavily into it till about like I was 10 years old, which like looking back now seems weird. But I remember like when I would stop playing with GI, I had the Defiant and all this stuff out in my front yard, and then I was just like I don't know if I should be doing this anymore. And then it was weird, and because that year in '87 was when I had like the most stuff. I had the Defiant, I had a mobile command center, Terradrome I got all of it. Like,
oh yeah.
At the very end, and then it was just like, and then it just went flat. But I built models a lot, so that kind of like filled in. And then because of that, unfortunately, I destroyed all my old GI Joes with wood burners and was turning them into zombies or whatever. But then I stayed away from it for all through high school. I still built models, but then I played sports and stuff like that. Went to college, did art, design, and then I think it was like I was at like a toy. I would always go to Toys R Us, even though I wasn't really buying anything. And I remember seeing like the McFarlane Metal Gear stuff when that first came out, and that was just like, whoa! Like I really like this, and it was because it had that military aspect. It was like even really, really good GI Joe because of all the equipment and stuff like that. So that kind of brought me back into paying attention to toys more, And then I started building models again, and then it led to like kit bashing models into new characters, and then they're kit bashing toys into characters and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Well, it's really interesting that you came to that conclusion at 10 years old, and Christopher's wife is still waiting for him to come to that conclusion.
Well, I'm back.
He's too old for toys. Yeah, but you're back now, though. Yeah,
I'm back worse than ever was. Yeah, totally. But
it's funny, like when you're a kid collecting, and you're like, all right, I should probably stop collecting because I'm getting a little bit older, and now we're all in our 40s and we're collecting toys, and it's like. All right.
It's weird. I remember like Ninja Turtles came out, and I would draw a lot too, so that kind of would fill in like the gaps of like I was 89 Batman was huge, like I don't think I bought any toys, but I was 12, so that whole thing was nuts, obviously. So it was always there, but I didn't buy stuff. And Ninja Turtles when they came out, I was like, I think I like these toys, but I felt like I was, I'm in 7th grade now, like I don't play with toys,
You're just a small 1 year ahead of me. I was born in '78, and Turtles was the last line that I collected. I remember being in, I think 5th grade, and that was it. It was like 11 pushing 12, and I had a lot of Turtles and the vehicles and stuff, and I had all the other the lines over the years, Transformers and Thundercats and He-Man and GI Joe and everything. But we're in the same period. Yeah, the Turtles were awesome, and then then it was time for other stuff in our lives.
Yeah, no, totally. I remember looking at like GI Joe in like the early '90s in the toy stores and just being like, that's so weird what it's become, like the giant neon weapons and stuff like that. Whereas '87 kind of felt, I mean, I like Cobra La, and looking back on it now, but it was a pretty strange thing. And I think G.I. Joe at the time was kind of fizzling a little bit, like the way I collect. I started everything Cobra from the beginning to '87 complete. And since then I've gone forward, and now I'm back filling all the Joes themselves since. So, but '87 was like, I remember that a lot, so.
And what is that like going back with the Joes now? Is that a pricey venture? Is it hard to find them? I'm not a Joe's collector as an adult, so I don't know, but.
Oh, it's not too bad. I like doing it at conventions, So many of my friends are dealers too, so I used to get excited to go to conventions, but really I could just text people, and be like, hey, you got this, that, or the other thing. So, yeah. And if I could find I found a bunch of the '82s, like, all looking good, and then it has to be like something that pushes me over the edge, because I wasn't going to do Joe's, but I always like that first wave because of how they're all the same color. And I'm messing with '83 now, and it's been a while since I got back to it, and now I'm starting to notice the prices, on like Snow Job and Gung Ho. I'm just like, wow, okay, like they're not $30 anymore, for a good one. So yeah.
I think we all had periods where whatever we're collecting, we lollygagged a little bit at one point, and you just seen the prices go up over the last I don't know, 6 to 10 years, and you're like, oh man, I remember when that was half the price.
Well, but you can't buy everything
at once.
No, yeah, my initial Cobras I got off a guy, Solomon. I don't know if any of you guys that are into Joe's know. He's like a pretty big GI Joe dealer, and I think average price was like 10 to 15 a figure, and that's on everything. from the beginning all the way through like 87. So that's like include Firefly, like Mint Storm Shadow, like stuff that's worms with the little antenna and stuff like that. So yeah, but
I'm sure
a
that's
long
not
time.
what it is now.
No, yeah, it's absurd. Yeah, I mean, I think you can't get near, like Storm Shadow. Like I think 100's easy, and that's like if you can find them in good condition,
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
looking through some of your stuff. I would say you're more like art than like an action figure, right? Is that
Yeah,
what you're thinking
somewhere.
yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. It's what I like. I guess it's like, I went to school for graphic design, but all I really liked was toys and stuff. So,
Oh, so did Shane.
oh yeah,
Well,
yeah.
the funny thing is there's a chance we may have been in class together. I went to Montclair for graphic design as well.
Yeah, I went to
don't know if you
UConn
went
for
there for
2
art.
years.
Okay.
Yeah, I went UConn 2 years, and then I did Montclair. I took a year off, then I went to Montclair State for a year and a half after that.
Okay.
I did production design at Montclair State, but I had a lot of like like drawing classes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a chance. I'm sure we had a lot of the same teachers, like print shop teachers and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
But,
really funny. Small world.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah, Shane's super busy right now. He's really busy. So
yeah. Do you do graphic design stuff now, or?
I do. I'm in advertising. I'm a
Okay.
creative director at an agency, but I would
Mhm.
surely love to be making toys. That'd be a lot more fun.
The grass is always greener,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's fun now. I mean, I've been at it for like 20 years, but it's kind of like this weird thing that you're doing, and then all of a sudden you start getting older
Yeah.
and like insurance, and you're like, is this really like it's like this might not go well? It's not like trying to be a rock star, but in a lot of ways, like the odds are come somewhat against you, but it just worked out. Like the past couple of years
Yeah.
after doing production in Asia, kind of just gets other people working on stuff, so I don't have to do it all by hand. But I still love
Yeah.
doing it by hand too, so I can like mix and match between the two different things.
So how were you making your early stuff? Like, what was the first figure that you made for sale, basically?
In the very beginning, I think about 2001, I started making just kit bash model kits. So they were all one of a kind. I didn't make multiples. I didn't know how to cast or anything. So I would just make each one by hand, and I was selling them at Toy Tokyo. And then I ended up working there too. I don't know if you guys know Toy Tokyo.
Heard of it.
It's like I've
been on their website.
It's a store in the city. It was good. It was good at the time because they were just like, "Hey, you want to sell stuff here? Sure." And they were like $10. I think I got $6 a figure after working on it for hours. But it was cool though, just to know that like people would buy shit that they didn't know what it was. Like it didn't say Star Wars. It didn't say anything identifiable. Maybe it's because in the East Village, like people were a little bit more open-minded to stuff like that. So I did that, and I would just build kit bash or like customs, but I didn't cast anything for about 10 years. So it was good. I had a lot of ideas, and I could make like one of each. But that was good though, because in order to make more, I would just make something new. So I'd have like more content. And then around 2010, I learned how to cast resin. And then that just opened everything up, because then it was just like, oh, wait, like I can make more of these things. They're not as precious. I could charge less money and just get them out to more people, And then since then until now, it's just been good. So every day gets better. Like I always say, it's always like something always goes my way a little bit more each day. There's never like, you don't need anybody to do this. It's an art form where you don't have to like go to an audition or, have someone say, yeah, your band can play here, because you're doing it like all yourself, which is kind of nice,
There's an interesting dynamic there, because when you first started creating them and they were selling for, like you said, $10, they're fairly inexpensive. You have a mix of customers, or, you weren't there necessarily when they were purchasing them from the toy store, but there might be people buying those just because they think there's something cool and they're not a big investment. So why not? Right. But then you also have people that, maybe really appreciate them, or it's a kit bash of characters they know, to the point, on the other end of the spectrum where, maybe the items are, more pricey because they're pieces of art, because there's more that's put into them. And those people are potentially buying them because they really appreciate the aesthetics of it, the time and design that went into it. So it's two different worlds, but it's all for the purpose of growing your hobby, your love, your art.
Yeah, I think like a lot other people that do this stuff, like early days in the scene downtown, everybody, doing toys, either producing them. There was the independent toy things. Like some people had to make them all by hand. Some people were getting them manufactured, but there were small runs, and it was just like, I think a lot of people had the goal of like, I just want to be the guy who can just make one figure and sell it for like $10,000,
Right.
And it's like, okay, but I don't know, like I know what I am as a collector, and I know I'm just like a regular person that likes toys. We all have this in common. So I just felt like there's so many more people out there that would want this, that want to know about it. Like you're mixing G.I. Joe and Star Wars. Like not everybody knows about that at the time. It's like I just want more people to find out about it. So I think I lean more like making editions and stuff like that, and just keeping it. I think the interest in toys to real collectors has always been a thing, but I think there's a hipster element to it now. Like that. You guys heard about Decon, Designer Con out in California. It's just like a thing, and I went out there to do stuff, and it did well. But at the time, I was like looking around, and I was like, I don't think my stuff really like matches with this. You know what I mean? Like I'm just making stuff.
I almost went to that.
Yeah,
it's a joke amongst everybody in the podcast that I go to every convention that I can possibly go to here in Southern California, and that one popped up on the list in a Designer Con, and I kind of looked at some of the pictures and stuff of what they were selling there, and I'm like, no vintage toys there. I'm not going to that,
No, exactly. Yeah. If there is there's one vintage guy there, like all the makers are like just buying that stuff, because they're just like, I like independent. I like people doing the stuff, and like it's good that people are working with their hands and stuff. But I don't know. I only collect real stuff, like licensed stuff. I'm not even into like all like the Stan Solo stuff, because I'm just like, I just want it to be like the real. Like there's something cool about when it came out, it was missing certain characters, or it's a little bit off. That's the way it should be, that's just my opinion, So.
You bring up Stan Solo, and that's an interesting angle amongst this conversation, because we're talking about partially vintage toys, right, which are the originals, the OGs. They were created by designers, produced, and stuff that we have as kids, and now you're creating your own stuff from your head, from where your inspirations come from. And Stan Solo is just a company reproducing, regurgitating the old stuff, just remaking it. And the vintage collectors that are out there mostly can't stand it, because it's just polluting kind of
I'm so glad to
the hobby.
Hear that. Yeah.
I think there's some people that like getting stuff that they can't afford. There's a lot of collectors that can't afford to get the whole line. And we do understand that as a podcast, as people who talk about this every week. But, it's really refreshing to see your stuff, because it's one of a kind in the sense that you're doing small runs, and it's something unique that you've created. It's a whole new toy line, basically. So we were really enjoying going through all the photos of the stuff. Talk to us about wrestling. I think everybody here. Everybody here was a wrestling fan in their younger years. I even had friends in college who were still into WWE at the turned into the time, and I was like, oh man, I haven't watched that in years. I watched it like religiously as a kid. But there's obviously a heavy influence, and we're going to put up some pictures of some of the pieces. Heavy influence on your pieces. Talk to us about wrestling.
Like I said, we're all the same age. I think we like the same wrestlers. I was kind of out of it by the time The Undertaker showed up. Like I liked the fact that I liked it, but like to like it and follow it now as an adult. Like I think I watched WrestleMania, this past one, because I was like, let me see what's going on, but I don't really follow it that much. But I liked it because I was really into like all the characters, like Hogan and Piper and like all those, and it was weird because they were real. And like you were seeing them, but at the same time, they're just like as interesting as, I don't know, like Star Wars, or like they're like science fiction characters, but you can actually see them. So I always thought that was kind of cool, and just being obsessed with something that's like, it's a real person. It's not like something in a movie, even though, it's still entertainment. The bodies worked out. I had a 6-piece set of wrestlers, Japanese wrestlers, and I had just hacked off the bounty hunters' heads, because I was doing that thing where I put the G.I. Joe head on the Star Wars bodies. So I had Star Wars heads left over. And I was like, oh, there's 6 of these wrestlers in the set. And one of them was Giant Baba. He's like this real tall, thin guy. He used to be a pitcher in Japan. And I was like, oh, like, you know, all the bounty hunters are kind of similar. They're humans, but IG-88 could be that guy, you know? And then, so I did the original set in like 2006 and just kept them. And then once I started casting resin, I started doing them here and there. And then that really like stuck with people, I think, you know? And it's something that I just kind of keep on doing. I'm not like a major wrestling fan. I mean, I like it, but I don't like watch it. I'll watch it sometimes just to be pretending I'm like really interested into it, but I don't know that much. I don't know that much about it, you know.
I don't either, but there was something really special to it when we were kids because we didn't know that it was all set up.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking for all of us, but
my grandmother swore that it was real. Every Saturday afternoon.
You ever see that meme? It was real to me, damn it.
Yeah. I remember was it Ricky Steamboat when he got hit in the throat with the film reel and just like I think I was like, I know it's fake when they fight in the ring, but that injury was real, you know, like, and just like, so, but, yeah, it's just cool.
There was something romantic about it as kids, as much as that doesn't sound right, but it was that you could you could really enjoy the storylines, the characters, and it was something really special for a long period of time then. I liken it in my head to like rap music. Like I love 90s rap. When I hear it now, I just can't connect. When I see wrestling now, I'm like, these I don't know who these characters are. They're not, I'm sure they're not as good as the old guys, you know?
Yeah, they're really like talented in what they do now physically. But at the same time, I'm like, why was like Junkyard Dog so cool? Like, he's just the guy with like red tights, a chain, and white boots. You know, like, but for some reason, that was like more impressive than this person who's doing like 80 flips and jumping off ladders and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we were more character driven back then.
Yeah, and plus our brains weren't fully developed. You know, I try to explain that to my friends when we talk about current Star Wars stuff. They're like, it's not as good. And I was like, we're not kids anymore.
We would believe whatever they sold us, you know?
Yeah. I always ask kids, did you like it? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's all that matters, you know? So
yeah.
So what's your like number one selling like line? Is it the Star Wars wrestlers? Is it the Turtles or
probably the wrestlers plus the Glyos. The Glyos I do like larger numbers on, but the wrestlers seem to really have a crazy impact, you know, and it's like I keep redoing them. They're 3 times the price of the Glyos because they're handmade, but it just seems like people just keep wanting them, and just like I said, I just want to keep making them. It's a solid thing. Yeah. Like even in art, like you only have like a few things that really people recognize, so you end up doing that the whole time. So sometimes it gets a little bit like I should be doing different stuff, but I'm like, what am I crazy? Like these things sell out, like, and they're fun to make, and people are excited. And the more I sell, the more people get interested, show their friends, and I just got to keep doing it, you know. So, and it's fun. I love painting like models, so all day long. Most of the time, it's painting. So it's kind of like, you know, people can't wait to do that. That's why they retire, is to like paint models. You know, I get to do it now, so I'm pretty happy.
Do you hand paint every single one of those?
Of the wrestlers, yeah, I hand cast them all too. So.
Oh wow!
I actually really want to pick up the wrestler with the Tusken Raider head. I saw that and I was like, that one looks awesome. Like,
yeah, it's pretty. That pose, like with the arm up. And it just totally made sense. I was just like, this is good. And people, it's fun to see because it's like, I think people have figured out the formula, and they even know the figures that are the bodies, but yet they're like just letting me do my thing, which is cool. Like nobody's really biting it or trying to. Somebody did some LJN ones that were cool, and they kind of like gave a nod to me and stuff. I did a large scale LJN Kylo, and it was like Roddy Piper with Kylo's helmet on it, because to me the character seemed a little, you know, tantrums and all that stuff. So you know, he had a little black skirt on and stuff like that. Yeah.
The shorter version of what he wears in the movie. Yeah, cool.
Totally.
Now, you know, it's hard to find something that resonates with people. So I get what you're saying. When you found something and it resonated with people, they were buying it, you gotta go with it. It's not easy to do in the first place.
Yeah, it's I do a lot of different stuff. There's like a horror aspect to some of my stuff, or just military. But the Star Wars wrestlers work really well, and the Glyos characters, which are kind of like 5 POA, you know, based in that. And I do Japanese vinyl too, which is cool because I like Japanese vinyl. So it's like the versions of like I'll do a figure in 3 3/4, and then I'll have a Japanese sculptor convert it. So that way, it's not like I'm not controlling the form of it because it's Japanese vinyl. I like it to look like a Japanese sculptor saw the character and transformed it into the thing. And it's the same thing with doing the like the action figures with Geddes, because he was over my studio one time and we're just talking, and I had like a 12-inch Vader, missing arms. I was going to do something with it, with the old vintage one, and he was like, "Oh, I sculpted the legs on those," and it was just like, wow, man,
That's
and like at the
awesome.
time, the first figure I was doing, the Raider, it's like kind of like a Boba Fett with a hooded Cobra Commander thing, and he didn't have quilting on the suit, but once Steve was like, "Oh yeah, I sculpted the quilting," I'm like, "Hey, can you put that quilting on the figure?" And he's like, "Yeah," and like the back of the Raider's knee actually looks just like the crinkled kind of quilting. It's really cool. So he's a lot of fun to work with.
And he was on the Kenner team. For anybody,
yeah, he was on. He got in for the not the first 12, but right after the explosion when they had to finish the 21. So he did Walrus Man is all him. Like they just kind of let him be. So, and he was saying, like, Walrus Man has, like, a contrapposto kind of thing going where one leg's forward, and he said that he wanted to do that because he wasn't into, like, the straightforward kind of rigid stuff and everything. So he did a lot of play sets, Dagobah, Tauntaun, he did the Dewback, Rancor. It's wild talking, like the stories.
Yeah, and we met him,
has.
Right, guys?
Yeah.
Did he tell you
Yeah,
that
he was-
about how he put the names of his family members in the Dagobah playset?
Yeah, I'm good friends with his son, Andrew. Andrew does stuff like I do, too. He does, like, resin stuff. A little bit more, like, a little bit more arty than my stuff. Like, it's a little bit more vague and not painted and just about color and stuff. But that's how I got to know Steve. And then Steve was working at Super 7 for a while, too. He did, like, I think a lot of the Universal Monsters, he did those. So,
Okay. Yeah, really nice guy.
Very cool.
yeah, super sweet. Yeah, really nice. So we're working on the 4th one now, and then some other wrestling type thing I'm thinking about doing. So we'll see. I still have to decide. I just want him to make one, so at least I have it, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do with it. Yeah.
Now the new, well, I don't know how new they are, but the miniature vinyls, like the Greedo and the Chewbacca that looks like a Minotaur.
Yeah, they're about 4 inches. So.
Oh, they're 4 inches. Okay, I thought they were
Yeah.
smaller than that. Okay,
Yeah.
I was wondering if those were like based on muscle, the muscle men.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like when the Greedo one. I mean, the colors for sure is based. I was trying to get that like not the Japanese flesh color, but the American Mattel flesh color. I was trying to get.
Right.
So, but yeah, I like them to have that feeling because they're kind of like bubbly, and kind of shorter in stature, and they're based on resin stuff. But there's like the Chewbacca. The reason why he has a regular face is he's part of that G.I. Joe Star Wars series that I do. So it's Chewbacca with Zartan's mask on the original. So like I blended like the mustache and the goatee kind of blend in, and people like flipped out over that. And it's really just Chewbacca with like the Zartan mask on. So like the vinyl version is that, but I was like, we're doing vinyl, I got to change it. So then I gave him like the 4 legs, and then he's got Zartan's backpack and Zartan's pistol too, so that there's a little bit more of Zartan in him. So,
do you do anything with aliens or anything?
Nothing yet. Nothing. Yeah, I didn't have it as a kid. I didn't have the kid.
Because Brandon and I are huge Alien fans, and we've always been talking about collecting the figures and stuff like that. So I was just worried. I was just curious if you had like anything. I was like Alien.
Yeah, I think I heard one of the recent things you guys you put aliens up there with Star Wars, kind of in terms of yeah. I mean, Aliens kind of a much better movie than Star Wars. I mean,
how dare you, sir?
I agree.
It didn't have as much impact on me as Star Wars, but as a film, Alien is pretty. Yeah.
The Star Wars toy line had a huge impact, but when it came to the movies, for me, Alien, the Alien runs are right.
Star Wars.
Yeah. Did you get this?
Star Wars.
Did you get the Super 7, like the Kenner ones that they redid? Oh yeah, that was that one there.
Like this. Well, yeah, they never made them from Kenner. You know, I wish
You
they
heard
would have
that whole
made
story,
like
right?
that.
Where they
I
were
don't.
made, but then they brought them to Toy Fair, and like people at Toy Fair had seen the film, and they were just like, "This is not a child's thing." So then Kenner like just scrapped it, and then
Really?
that's Flynn at Super 7 got a hold of the molds and stuff. So
Wow.
Oh, so
Wow.
those are based on the original molds.
yeah, those are the I'm trying to think which ones. The alien definitely is, and the spacesuit is. I think the other ones are too, but then they went on and they kind of added to it and it didn't go as well. But the very first reaction toy was a 2-piece set of the alien and the spacesuit, and it was done in the prototype blue. So I have one of those. It's a really nice set. You know, they didn't make too many, and that was just when Reaction started going, and before Funko even got it. And then Super 7 ended up getting it back again. But yeah,
It's crazy.
I really want to buy them, and I would love to get into them, but you know, I'm not a hoarder like Brandon is, and Brandon just buys everything. So
you got like standees back there. I like that.
Yeah, he has everything back there. So
You call them standees. Charles calls them garbage. Behind me.
I wanted them when I was young, for sure. Like the Boba Fett one, I used to see it and just be like, oh, I need that so bad.
Yeah, we all did when we were
Yeah.
like 9, 10, or 11. He's
yeah.
he's almost 50 and he still wants them.
he's 50.
So, all right, guys. So that was part 1 with Dave Healey from Healeymade. I'm really enjoying this conversation. You know, I'm an artist. He's an artist, so I enjoy that part of it. But as a toy collector, there's a lot of goodness in that interview, and I'm excited to check out the second half.
Yeah.
What did you guys think?
I'm not an artist, but he's just totally just like shocking me of all the stuff he does.
It's a process, right?
Yeah.
Never knew any of that stuff until that's why I wanted to explain it.
I'm usually never into buying stuff like that ever, but I am really honestly liking these, and I am thinking about going on and and going down that rabbit hole.
Hoarder.
Hoarder.
They look cool.
And that was interesting. The way, like he does these runs. So he's got a following that these, the collectors that follow and buy from him for his pieces, they're like just kind of watching for a new figure to drop, and then they're right on it. So he's got a good thing going. And if you want to get into any of his figures, you've got to just follow him. I like that whole setup.
Yeah, you just follow him on Instagram, like he said, and then he'll kind of like let you know when he's doing a drop.
He'll drop the next figure coming, and you can purchase it online.
Yeah.
On Healeymade.com.
Yeah, so we got to talk wrestling, little Ninja Turtles, little Star Wars, little Joes. So it's fun to talk to him too, because he's about the same age as all of us, and he had a lot of the same interests in the toy lines and the movies and stuff. And so definitely I'll invite all of our viewers and listeners to come back next Sunday, and see and watch and listen to part 2, because we're going to get even further into the process that he does in creating these figures, designing them, and producing them, and then making them available to collectors that follow him. And we want everybody to definitely stay tuned for an exciting announcement or a reveal. He's going to show us a figure that he worked with a former vintage Kenner Star Wars designer in creating. And if you're a Boba Fett fan, you're definitely going to want to tune in next Sunday to see him reveal that figure to us. And Brandon is chomping at the bit.
Boba Fett.
Christopher is going to be on the website as soon as we log off here. He's going to be shopping.
I might be on eBay.
The truth is you've really got to follow him and wait for them to drop. He drops them every couple of weeks. So if you have heard of Healeymade figures before, you know what we've been talking about, and I'm sure you enjoyed hearing his conversation with him. But if it's not something that you're aware of, if you haven't heard of Dave Healey, please check him out. Healeymade.com, and you can also check out his Instagram to see all the stuff he's created previously, the different runs and the different versions of his figures on Instagram at Healeymade, HealeymAde. And we thank you for hanging with us here at 5 Idiots Talking Toys. Please come back on Wednesday for Wins and Whiffs, and we will see you next Sunday for part 2 of this interview. We'll see you next time on 5 Idiots Talking Toys. Bye!
Thank God Shane can spell.
Bye.
Later.